بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته to everyone. Can someone ping Brother Alimuddin? I forgot to text him whether he's gonna join or not in the background. So what we have done is we have completed the chapter of the subject and the predicate. And the chapter of the subject of the predicate was a subchapter, so to speak, with a subsection of the chapter of the nouns that are marfu'atul asma, the nouns that have the inflection of rafa. We said that one of them was the verbal subject, the other one was the object whose verbal subject is not mentioned. The third one we said it was the mubtada, which is the subject, the nominal subject, and the fourth one that you mentioned was the khabar, which means the predicate. So now what we will discuss, inshallah, is a group of words, basically a group. Yes, so these will be a group of verbs actually that are agents, and they come before nouns. And these agents, what they do is their job is they make the noun that comes right after them, or they make their subject marfu', and they make their predicate, which we call khabar. They make the predicate of that subject mansub, right? They give it the inflection of nasb. So the author, inshallah, will explain all of this to us. He says, باب العوامل الداخلة على المبتدأ والخبر. Today, this chapter is about those agents that come before the subject and the predicate, the nominal subject and the predicate. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa atba'i ajma'in. The author, rahimahullah, says, وَهِيَ كَانَ وَأَخَوَاتُهَا وَإِنَّ وَأَخَوَاتُهَا وَظَنَّ وَأَخَوَاتُهَا. So these subjects, or these agents that come before the subject and the predicate, they're actually, the author mentions some of them here. He says they are kana, which means was, and her sisters. He treats the word kana as feminine, and inna, indeed, and her sisters, and dhanna, which means suspected, and her sisters. Okay, so here these are the three agents, that group of agents that the author will tell us about. The first one is kana and her sisters, meaning there's a group of agents that fall under the kana category. Inna and her sisters, there's a group of agents that fall under the inna category, And Dhanna and her sisters, basically there's a group of agents that fall under the Dhanna category. Kana means was, and Inna, it is used to emphasize something. For example, indeed Allah is great. Inna Allah azim. Inna Allah azimun. And Dhanna, which means suspected. Dhanna annahu fil bayti. He suspected that he's in the house. And her basically when he says, as I said, when he says their sisters, it means that there are actually other verbs that fall under these categories. Now the first one that we'll talk about is kana, and the other agents that fall under the category of kana. He says فأما كان وأخواتها فإنها ترفع الاسم وتنصب الخبر. He says in the case of Kana and her sisters, they make their subject marfu and the predicate mansub. And they are. Inshallah, I'll give you an example shortly, but let me just give you a quick example so you're not totally lost. Allah has always, or Umar was Khalifa. Or let me give you yeah. The Arabic of it would be Kana Umaru Khalifatan. Kana Umar radiyallahu anhu Khalifatan. Okay, so this is our example. Okay, so the first thing I want you to notice is kana. Kana is what? Is one of these agents that comes before a subject. And we said, what does kana do? Can anyone tell me? We said, what does it do to its subject? We just mentioned it right now. What does kana do to its subject?
Makes it marfu.
Makes it marfu, exactly. So here, as we can see, there's a dhamma on Umar, and we said the sign of rafa for the singular noun is a dhamma, right? Is dhamma or dhamtain, depending on whether it's partially declinable or fully declinable. We said partially declinable nouns do not accept tanween, right? They do not accept un and in. So Umar is actually a partially declinable noun. That is why it's a dhamma and not a tanween, not a dhamtain. But if it was not as partially declinable noun, for example, if it was I don't know, like Zayd. I know Zayd was never a Khalifa, but let's say for example, if it was Zayd, you would say Kana Zaydun, because Zaydun is fully declinable. But anyhow, this is something that you should remember from previous lessons. So So here, kana is the agent that has come before Umar, and it has made Umar marfu. And what does kana means? Was. Umar was a khalifa. Umar was a khalifa. Straightforward, right? So now so now we know about kana. Now there are actually a group of words, a group of verbs that fall under the category of kana. So meaning they do exactly what kana does, even though they mean things that are different. Even though they mean different things, they do exactly what kana does. Okay. Let me duplicate this. Okay. They do exactly what kana does. Now, what are these words? The author, rahimahullah, he goes over them one by one for us. And inshallah, we'll also do the same thing. Okay, so he says the first one is kana. Now I'm not sure if I should translate it in line, you meaning in the same line or down here. At least maybe I could do something to make it more clear. I'll give these numbers. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. It should make it more clear for you guys. Kana وأمسى وأصبح وأضحى. Okay, so now let me actually give numbers to all of them before I change the alphabet. Is this straightforward? Does anyone have any questions so far? It's not a complicated topic, right? Kana, which means was, and then two is. So these are a bit difficult to translate because we don't have words that perfectly match the meaning of these words. So, for example, you would say with amsa, which is the second word. Amsa is the second word agent that we're going to talk about. It's here, this one. Amsa. It means that, so you would say amsa Zaydun faqiran. Zayd became, so one of those meanings is became. One of those meanings, but that's not the only meaning. So it either means Zayd became poor. It either means Zayd became poor without any restrictions, without any time constraints, whether he became poor today, yesterday, in the morning, in the afternoon. So that's one meaning, just became. The other meaning is that Zayd became not just at any time. Zayd became poor, or Zayd became rich, whatever he became, or Zayd became tired in the evening, right? Amsa means in the evening. Masa means in evening. And when you say Amsa Zaydun, Amsa Zaydun, for example, Faqiran, Zayd became poor in the poor. You actually, if you use Amsa for it, you mean Zayd became poor in the evening, right? So it is used for both. For both meanings, just became without any time constraints, and also became in the evening. Does that make sense? And then asbaha
Yes.
means also means became. asbaha, but it like I said, it also either it always either means became just period, or it became or he or she became in the morning. Subh means salatul subh. You guys have heard salatul subh, right? The prayer of the morning prayer. So asbaha comes from subh, right? And when you say asbaha zaydun faqiran, it means Zayd became poor in the morning. Became or became in the morning. Okay. Is that straightforward?
Brother, I do have a question. Are you going over words that would be considered these
I can't hear you, brother Nasruddin. It's really hard to hear you.
try to rate?
Hello, brother Nasruddin. I couldn't hear what you said.
Oh, I'm trying to fix my mic.
Oh, I see.
But can you hear me better?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had the question about are these the words that would be like the ones that you're talking about under the
Yeah.
subject?
So yeah, these are the agents. Basically, these are the agents that would make their they would make their subject marfu and their predicate mansub. These are those agents. Yes.
Okay. But how many are there? Are there like
Yeah, I think there are about maybe 13 or 14. I haven't counted them, to be honest with you.
okay?
So a actually, and the author doesn't mention. I think the author he mentions most of them. He does mention most of them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually, it seems like it's 12 that he mentions.
Brother, I had a question.
Yeah.
For asbaha, is it only in the morning, or can it be without a time constraint as well?
Yeah, it can be without a time constraint as well.
Okay. Thank you, brother. Jazakallah.
No problem. Adha means, again, Adha. This also means it could mean became, or it could mean became with the constraint of in the time of duha. وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. Have you guys heard about that verse? وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. Duha is a time of the morning in which it is recommended to pray Salatul Duha. So it is not like at the time of the morning prayer, it is after that, actually. So at that time, at the time of Duha, obviously, I don't think there's a word for Duha in English, but it is a particular time of the morning, and it is after the sun has risen. It is
So
after the sunrise.
it'd be before noon.
So it would be like, it would fall before noon, but yeah, so you can pray Salatul Duha all the way up till the Salatul Dhuhr. But the way when does it start? Salatul Duha, you have to look at the sun, if it has risen, and the the height of a spear, then that is time you have to start praying. You can start praying Salat al-Duha. Okay. وظل ظل means also, it could mean became, or in the day, with the constraint of the day. And the same thing with bata. Bata. Bata means became, or with the constraint of at night, or went to sleep. So you say bata Zaydun faqiran, Zayd went to sleep a poor man. Obviously, these are like I said, it is very hard. There is no one word that translates these words perfectly. So I think you kind of have to explain what they mean rather than translate it, give you a word by word definition in English, right? And then we come down here, Sara, and Sara, this Sara is actually, it means became, right? And Laysa, eight, Laysa is not, means is not. Inshallah, I'll give you examples in a second. Just bear with me. Let's complete these. Mazala. We are at 9. So Mazala means still, meaning still has not ceased. For example, Mazala Zaydun ghadiyan. Zayd has not ceased to be أو ما زال لسانه رطبا من ذكر الله. His tongue has not ceased to be moist from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And ma infakka and ma bariha, and all of these, actually they mean the same thing, except ma dama. So ma infakka, it means the same thing. Let me just copy and paste this. Ma fatiha also means the same thing. And ma bariha also means the same thing. Madama does not mean the same thing. It means as long as. For example, you say أكرمك ما دام زيد هنا. I will be generous to you as long as Zaid is here. As long as, or you say, I will be generous to you as long as I am alive. أكرمك ما دام أنا حي. Or ما دمت حي. You say ما دمت حي. You would have to use a pronoun. ما دمت حي. Okay. Now, the last thing that the author mentions, he says, and whatever and all words that conjugate from these 13 agents that you mentioned. So obviously, as I said, these are verbs, and verbs can be conjugated, right? Most, actually, in Arabic, most verbs can be conjugated, and the verbs that can be conjugated, their conjugations will do the same thing. Maybe their conjugations will become the agents for the same purpose, for the same thing. Their amal, or their action, or what they do will be the same thing. And okay. So, for example, the conjugation of kana, the kana, which means was. Another conjugation of kana is, right? Is right now. Another conjugation of kana is will be in the future. A conjugation of became is become, meaning or becomes, which means in the present future, right? Become, which means it's the imperative. You're actually commanding someone to become something. Be, in the case of kana, be is another conjugation. In Arabic, it becomes a conjugation of was, right? Because they come from the same root word. Kun and kana, which means was and be, they come from the same word, which is kana, and so be or kun is the conjugation of what? Of kana. Does that make sense, or is that too confusing? Do we have a good understanding of what verb conjugations are?
Yeah, Sheikh. Yeah.
Okay, how many? Yeah, so for those who do not know, how many types of verbs do we have? We said we have 3 types of verbs, right? We have past tense, present tense, and future tense, right? We have past tense, we have present, future, and also we have the imperative. And these are all, if you take a single word in Arabic, a single verb in Arabic, you can actually derive all of these different types of verbs from a single verb. Just like same thing in English, right? You say, for example, I see, I saw, I will see. So these are all, you use see for past tense, present tense, and also see, look. Actually, for the imperative, you don't say see, right? You say look. So that kind of changes. But in Arabic, there are no exceptions. You know, when you have a verb, all of its conjugations, meaning past, present, future, and imperative conjugations, they come from the same verb. They don't change. So here, kana, yakunu is a conjugation of kana, and kun is a conjugation of kana, and all of these do the same thing, regardless of whether it's present, imperative, or future, or past tense. They make the subject marfu, and they make the predicate mansub. The same thing with asbaha. Yes, asbaha, yusbihu, asbih. He became, becomes, and become, the imperative, be. Okay, so now that actually completes the actual words, or the actual agents. Now he will, inshallah, give us some examples. And then the author says, so actually let me go ahead and read this in Arabic real quick, because I don't think I went over it in Arabic. فأما كان وأخواتها فإنه ترفع الاسم وتنصب الخبر وهي كان وأمسى وأصبح وأضحى وظل وبات وصار وليس وما زال وما انفك وما فتئ وما برح وما دام. Okay. وما تصرف منها نحو كان ويكون ويكون أصبح ويصبح وأصبح. وتقول كان زيد قائما. For example, you say Zaid was standing. Now here he uses kana, right? Kana is one of the words that that we're talking about, that we have been discussing. Kana Zaidun qa'iman, and as you can see, Zaidun here is made is marfu'. Zaidun is marfu'. Amrun is also is marfu'. Okay, so what does kana Zaidun qa'iman mean? As I said, it means Zaid was a stander, or standing, was standing. What does laysa amrun shakhisan mean? It means Zaid is not, I believe shakhis means known. Give me one sec, let me look at the book. Yeah, it doesn't mention it in the book. Yeah, but I believe shakhs means famous or known, someone who's known by others. Yeah. Okay. وما أشبه ذلك, and anything that resembles what was mentioned. Okay. Laysa amrun shakhisan. Here amr is the subject of laysa, and we said laysa is not, right? Laysa means is not. And as you can see, amr, excuse me, amr is marfu', right? Amr is marfu' in our example. So that is all that I wanted to mention today, or teach today. Do you guys have any questions? I believe it was straightforward, but if there are any ambiguities here, please feel free to ask. Should we do a quick overview? So basically, what we're discussing today, we're still talking about the marfu' nouns, but to be able to discuss a certain type of marfu', this type of marfu' nouns, these types of marfu' nouns, we needed to also discuss the agents that comes before them. because the reason that they become marfu is actually the agent that comes before them. So it is crucial, it is essential that we discuss those agents before we discuss the marfu nouns themselves, right? So these agents, as the author says, why are we talking about them? Because they make their subject marfu, and that is the topic that we're still talking about, marfu nouns. And because these agents make their subjects marfu, they are mentioned in this chapter. And they make their predicate mansub, which is something we'll discuss in the upcoming chapters, inshallah. So what are these agents that do this, that make their subject marfu, that make their noun, the noun that comes after the marfu? Their kana was, amsa became or became in the evening, asbaha became or became in the morning, wa adha either became or became in the time of duha, dhalla either became or became in the day, bata either became or became at night, or when he went to sleep or she went to sleep, sara just became without any constraints, laysa is not, it means it is not, mazala means still, has not ended or ceased, ma infakka the same thing, ma fati'a the same thing, still, ma bariha also means still, meaning it has not ended, and madama means as long as, madama means as long as, right? So all of these verbs, all of these agents, if they come before the subject that comes after them is marfu. Why is it marfu? Is because these agents make it marfu. And not only these agents, but whatever all other verbs that are conjugated or derived from these agents, from these verbs, they also do the same thing, meaning they make their subject marfu and they make their predicate mansub. Examples he gives are yakunu and kun, which are derived from kana, and yusbihu wa asbih, which are derived from asbaha, right? And then he gives us two examples, and basically you can apply the same examples to all other words, right? You can just replace the agent here, replace kana or replace laysa with any of the other agents, and inshallah most of my thing will make sense. For example, أمسى زيد قائما, أصبح زيد قائما, ظل زيد قائما, بات زيد قائما, صار زيد قائما. You can actually replace kana with all those and it'll make sense. But obviously you have to change the meaning. The meaning will change from was to, for example, became at night or became in the day and all of that. So kana Zaydun qa'iman, it means Zayd was a stander, or Zayd is standing. Depending on was standing, depending of whether you want to translate it word by word or translate it the way it makes more sense. Laysa amrun shakhisan, Zayd is not known. وَمَا أَشْبَهَ ذَلِكَ, and anything that resembles these. Meaning when he says مَا أَشْبَهَ ذَلِكَ, means he's telling you to go ahead and replace all of those with the you can replace those agents with the other agents that we mentioned, and it'll basically do the same. They will do the same thing. They will make the subject marfu, and they will make the predicate mansub. Any questions? That was just a very fast overview of what we mentioned. Any questions? We're too quiet.
I don't know.
Does it make sense?
Yes,
Yeah,
brother, it does.
it makes sense.
Okay, Alhamdulillah.
Sheikh.
Alhamdulillah. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, I do have one question on. I know on the first slide that we talked about today, you had the letters put next to them, and then the other two slides they're not there for some reason.
The
Like
letters or the number?
Like the pronunciation for the letters, like in English.
Okay. Which one? Slide 93, or which one was it? Do you remember?
I think it's. Let me see, 93.
Okay.
Yeah, 93.
As long as you mean this one, yeah, you're right. Yes,
Yeah, like
yes, yeah, the pronunciation, yeah. So what I will do is I will actually just keep still, right? You know what this means now, right? Or remains. ما زال. ما Okay. So here, still also is remains. How can we make this? Okay, ما زال ما فتي ما. Okay, and then ما برح, which means still means the same thing, but ما برح. As long as ما دام ما دام. Yeah. Okay. جزاكم الله خيرا for pointing this out. Okay, so I think that that is it. There's nothing else. I will, inshallah, next week we'll talk about Inna and her sisters, which basically do something similar, but it's a bit different. If no questions, inshallah, we'll conclude the call. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا everyone.